When you hear the title Lords of Baseball, you might feel some different emotions. One, baseball? I love baseball. I can't wait to try this game. Or, baseball. I don't really like baseball. I don't want to play this game. Good news. Regardless of whether you love or hate the sport of baseball, this game only draws the theme from the sport. So if you don't like baseball, the sport, you can still try Lords of Baseball, the game, and get some enjoyment out of it. It's not a 9-inning simulation. That's one of the first misconceptions that we've run into. You are not hitting singles, home runs, striking out batters, none of that. What you are doing is running an organization, you're managing resources, and you're trying to score victory points. It's a Euro game, but it's not a Euro game. Okay, so when you hear the term victory points, don't start thinking about, oh, it's just a cube pusher. Not really. All right, there are a number of different ways to score victory points, and that leads to some really interesting combos you can do and some interesting strategies that you can employ. Some of the ways you score victory points. Looking here at the chart that we have, every team is going to have a ratings system, and you're going to see that here on the team mat. Each star that you purchase is worth a victory point, and the stars are for your front office, your farm system, and your manager. Okay, so each star there is worth a point, and you buy those throughout the course of the season. The next aspect is whether or not you have a winning season. Now, a winning season in baseball is 82-80. You win more than you lose, just that simple. Now, the points you score will be based on how strong your team is. If you have a really strong team, you have more stars in your front office, it's easier to win games, so you're not going to score as many points as you can see. If you've got a lousy front office and you still manage to have a winning season, that's admirable. You're going to score more points. And on top of that, each win that you acquire on the board is also worth a victory point. So near the end of the season, every little win you can get is going to be valuable for you. The standings also matter. If you are in first place, you're going to win 7 points. If you're strong enough to win the pennant, as you go down second, third, fourth, you score points based on your standings as well. Whether or not you win the championship, that's determined by a chart and a die roll. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Your roster, how many superstars, how many all-stars you have in your major league team, how many phenoms you have in your farm system. You get different amounts of victory points for that. Media influence, we'll talk about here in a little bit. Media influence is worth victory points as well. After media, we talk about in-season depth. Depending on how many journeymen are on your roster, you're either going to gain or lose points. And finally, the amount of money you have will affect how many victory points. So every $10,000 you have in the bank is going to be worth 3 victory points. Now, there are some differences at the end of the game. These victory points are just for in-between phases. You also score at the end of the game. Whoever has the most money, whoever has won the most pennants, whoever has improved their team roster over the course of the entire game, you're going to score points based on that as well. In between each year, though, before the end of the game, is the built-in catch-up mechanism. So there's no runaway leader that we've found. It's called the luxury tax. What the luxury tax forces players to do, if you're in a 4-player game, whoever has the most victory points is going to pay the person who has the least amount of victory points, a set amount of money based on the time in the game and based on the point difference. Thinking there is, in Major League Baseball, the haves often give to the have-nots. It's been 30 years, I think, the Yankees have paid the luxury tax. Well, it's the same concept in Lords of Baseball. Okay, we take that same concept and try to help everybody out, and it balances the game out. So if you find yourself in last place by 20 points after the first year, guess what? You can still win the game. That's the balance of the victory point scoring. And because it's a victory point scoring game, people often look at it as a Euro, but as you'll find out, the cards make it more of a war game than a Euro game. That's coming up.